Man, I guess let's dive straight into it, man. Sunday, UA,
Yeah, it's mad.
UEFA Euro Championships 2020 um, Cup final. England versus Italy. It was coming home. It
It
was really
was
coming
apparently.
home.
I thought it was honestly. I was one of those. I was getting ready. I was getting ready to celebrate, but yeah, it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't. And yeah, I guess we can quickly just touch on the game. So England went 1-0 up within like the first
2 minutes. Yeah,
3 minutes, yeah.
yeah.
Got like a couple of seconds, and then it looked like they were in control for the most of the first half. Then second half comes on. I think Gareth made like one change. Gareth being Gareth Southgate made a change, and then they conceded one, so it's now 1-1.
hmm
A few more changes. It goes into extra time, and then
The
I don't know.
dreaded penalties.
Huh?
The dreaded penalties.
Yeah, then it goes into dreaded penalties. But before we get to the penalties, I think a very pivotal moment happened here with about 30 seconds to go. We saw a substitution which saw Sancho come on and Rashford came on. And obviously you're bringing them on for them to score a penalty because that's the only
hmm
30 seconds you're not really going to affect the game much. Then we go into the penalties. Obviously, England have a terrible relationship with penalties in the past. It kind of haunts them. But I feel like every England fan was very hopeful at that time.
hmm
Yeah,
Yeah, the confidence was still there.
confidence
Definitely,
is
I was in a pub watching it, and yeah, everyone was still confident that we would go on win. But
everything
yeah, little
going
did we know.
well. Everything was going really well, and I guess what happened next was we saw Kane score. Everything was still going well. I believe Italy scored. I can't remember who took their penalty. And then England score again. Harry
hmm
Maguire.
hmm
He scores, and that was a great penalty. Yeah, that surprised.
Finish as well, yeah. First set, when I saw him walk to the ball, I said, "Jesus Christ, this could be it. This could be over already." But he probably took one of the better pens out of
He, he
rest of
did
the
the,
England
he did the
players.
best pen out of all the penalties. So
Mm,
yeah, that was world class. Um, and then I believe Italy missed.
yeah.
They missed, and then Rashford steps up, and it's his turn to take it. And obviously, him being brought on to take the penalty, I guess that's a lot of pressure in itself. However, I personally feel he's capable to handle that kind of pressure. Like
hmm
he's kind of been through, cup finals, whatever. He's kind of been there. He's on to big things. He
Mm.
missed. He hits the post.
And to be fair to him, he did take it. He took it was a confident pen. He
Yeah,
just didn't get his angles right.
yeah.
The
He's
way the approach to the penalty, the execution wasn't fully there. But yeah, the way he approached it looked confident. I backed him.
he's very confident. He just slightly got it wrong. Like
Mm,
slightly. It's like then that's the margins. Unfortunately, that's the margins. But he got it
hmm
slightly wrong. And then Italy come up. I believe did they score? Did they miss two? They missed two.
Nah, I don't know. I thought it was one.
They might have
No,
missed one.
Pickford. No, Pickford saved one.
Yeah, picked to save one.
Mm,
So that means they scored the next one.
mm.
And now Sancho steps up for England. And I don't know, were you surprised Sancho stepped up?
No, 'cause obviously he was brought on to take the penalty. So yeah, that wasn't a surprise to me. I'm not too sure if he takes penalties for his club, which was where like my first question was raised. Um, it's a bit like Saka. These guys don't really have experience in taking penalties. So yeah, my doubts are there. But yeah, whilst it was happening, I was wondering where Grealish where Sterling was, Henderson, the likes of those players, the established players. Where are they in a lineup to take the penalties? But yeah, we find out after the game what the situation was. But at the time, it was a lot of questions around the choice and when these guys were taking the penalties. It was like we left the inexperienced guys to later on down the line for when it actually matters.
Yeah,
Where maybe if you didn't strict reversal, if Saka took it second, say if Rashford went first, Saka went second, and Sancho went third, it might have been a different scenario. There's not as much pressure on the boys to convert,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, that's how it went.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. So, like as Jamal alluded to it, so obviously England lost. Rashford missed, Sancho missed, and evidently Bukayo Saka missed the final penalty, um, which obviously saw England kind of lose a cup final. Which is there, I guess, is it's the first time in the cup final ever since 1966. So it's still a great achievement. We can't take anything away from the boys. But maybe the approach to the penalties could could potentially have been different. I'm
Mm,
not sure if Gareth was thinking, all right, we'll definitely score the first three. The pressure will be off a little bit easier, so Sancho and Saka could take their penalties. Um, from a footballing point of view, I think personally that um, the way they took the way Saka and Sancho took their penalties was the same way Mbappe took his.
mm,
I don't think there was much of a focus of actually trying to hit the ball where they wanted it to go. It was more like, I'm going to get this on target as opposed
mm,
to I'm going to smash this into the corner because that's what I know I can do. Where that
mm.
Rashford, he took that approach and you could tell he did, but he hit the post. Do you see what I'm saying? So
It's
it's
just
like,
that confidence and
yeah,
repetition. Like you can see it in the approach play.
yeah,
You see it with Kane and Rashford. They've got years of taking pens. Like they know how to do it. It's just another penalty for them. But for the other guys, this is something completely new. And
yeah,
especially for the likes of Saka, that's he might not even take a penalty at youth team level. For that to be his first penalty when the whole nation's on his back, it's a tough
yeah,
ask.
yeah.
It's a
It's
tough
hard.
ask.
It's a tough ask. It's a tough ask. But evidently, I guess this kind of leads us into that next segment. So I don't think you were surprised by it. I definitely wasn't surprised by it. We saw a lot of racial abuse come the next day, on social media. I wouldn't even say the next day. It was the same day. It's the same. It's all
Mm.
rolled into one, right? So
Immediately after, yeah.
yeah. So we saw it. What's crazy to me was that we were talking about this before. I was at a barbecue and we were talking about what would happen if England don't win, and we thought, you know what, the black players will be the scapegoats here.
Mm.
Sterling didn't turn up, but not Kane. Sterling didn't turn up. Rashford didn't turn up, or whatever. And obviously, evidently, the penalties. It was the three black guys who missed. So that light is being shone there. And
Hmm.
now we're seeing a lot of racial abuse coming out by it. I can't say what's the word. I'm not annoyed by it. I'm not. I feel like it's just expected. So
Hmm.
it's a
And
shame.
it was interesting to see pundits and ex players as well having the same views. They said as soon as Saka and the rest of the guys missed, they knew what was going to happen after that. They knew the racial abuse would come in thick and fast. And yeah, it's sad that it's gotten to this stage. It's gotten to this stage where it's kind of not accepted, but it's expected. And yeah, I guess we'll talk about following this now. How or what is the best route to stop this from happening? Because yeah, we've been taking a knee for how long now, and we've been trying to apply pressure to these social media companies, but they've still not done enough. So yeah, what is the next steps, and how do we make sure this doesn't happen again?
Yeah, I think we can just dive into that straight away. So on the next day, yesterday being Monday, um Stephen Bartlett, big I guess entrepreneur on Dragon's Den. He founded the company called Social Chain. He put out a message on or a status on LinkedIn, which I thought was a good approach, where he just kind of poses the question to some of the big social media platforms as to what they can do to ultimately eradicate, I guess, abuse and racism from social media. And I guess this is the caption that he put out. So the more we talk about players being racially abused on social media, the more they'll be abused on social media. There is a small minority who get a thrill from the outrage. If social media platforms made you verify your identity, 99.9% of this racial abuse would actually end overnight. So, like, I think that's a good stance, personally. I think that's a good
Mhm.
first step. And
I think it's a yeah. Again, I think it's a common opinion of many people as well.
Mhm.
Um, that if you allow some kind of identification, that it should hopefully help the cause and stop this from happening. But it's interesting if so many people are thinking the same way. Why aren't these companies acting on it? But I guess yeah, it'll be good to hear your point of view actually, Jules, because I know yours is I wouldn't say controversial, but it's uncommon to what a lot of people have said. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's an interesting
100%.
point.
100%. I think that what I guess what scares me when it comes to social media, if we get to the point of where we kind of end this like free speech element, we kind of end up being like I guess is it fascist, is that how you should say it, where you have to control what people say, and I feel like it's not about controlling what people say. Like, I don't want to, obviously I don't want to see any racial abuse, no I don't, but
Mm,
that I don't think the source of the problem is social media. The source of the problem is that they feel like it's okay to go out and say this and think this. They automatically want to attack another person's color of their skin or make someone feel subhuman because they missed a penalty. Like,
mhm,
just a simple fact that my mom, your mom, or sister, or whoever could go out like on Monday, the next day, and feel afraid because a black person missed a penalty. I feel like that's crazy. Do you know what I
mhm,
mean?
mhm,
That's not something that should happen. We shouldn't actually have to feel this way. So for me, my opinion is that yes, verifying is good, but I don't want these people to be blocked. I don't want these people to be banned. I don't want them to be put into hiding. I rather know who they are and try to find a way to rehabilitate them and the generations after them. Obviously, it's
mhm,
very optimistic to, I guess, try and rehabilitate those people, because some people, once they've laid their bed, they lay their bed. That's it. They built their life, and this is how they live it. However, there can still be a rehabilitation process. Whether it works or not, I don't know, but I think that should be included in the repercussion of anyone who is caught doing any social abusing, on any social media platform. So just
mhm,
like how, I guess, if you were to speed, you went 30 miles over the speeding limit, you have to go and do a speeding course, or you get points, or if you get a certain amount of points, then you have to go and do a speeding course. Like, it's
mhm,
compulsory. You can't avoid doing that. And I think that, with some of these kind of racist abusers, I think they need to probably go on a ethnic minority course and understand that certain people every ethnic group is human and they should be
mhm.
treated as such, as opposed to just getting a fine and then that's it, or getting banned and that's it, and they don't say anything anymore, but they still exist. So they get to be
Yeah,
racist, but they're just racist in the dark. I don't want to breed more racists in the dark. I just want to not breed any more racists. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
So it's
Nah,
like,
that's yeah. I like that opinion because it kind of cuts off the supply. So we're going directly to the cause and we're trying to eradicate it rather than relying on social media companies to block it, like you said, and keep these racists in the dark. But I know. So Stephen Bartlett put out the LinkedIn post, and you went in the comments to just have a discussion about it.
yeah,
And someone then mentioned about your point and said that I can't see if I can find it, but it was something along the lines of forced education isn't effective as voluntary education. So
yeah.
is that the correct route to go down? For like the example of the speed and awareness course, it's in there, but does that eradicate the issue? Um, yeah, that's just a question for
I don't
you.
think
How did you take that comment?
so. I think for me, like, it's never like rehabilitation or education isn't like a one-stop thing where okay, that's the one thing that solves it. It's like it is multiple things. Like if I got a big enough fine and I got a bit more education on it. Like, let's say this education was like a 6 module course and you got to do it once a month or something for 6 months or something. Like, you got a little bit more of information as opposed to not having any information whatsoever. I think that person did make a strong point because there are people who have literally built their lives without any education in it and it works for them. But those people, I feel like they can't be reached. And that's going to be a section of the population. It's like me trying to change the ways of my grandparents who are like, reaching their 90s. Like, it's impossible to do that. But it's not about that. It's about the generations afterwards as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you get hold of what you can and you influence those and then you go on again. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I hear that.
I feel like we have made certain strides, but I feel like a lot of racism nowadays becomes so systemic, it's so deep rooted that we have to take that type of approach. How do you cut a root? Do you know what I mean? You don't just cut the top of the plant. It's still gonna
You
grow.
don't cut the leaves off. Yeah, you don't cut the leaves off.
You don't cut the leaves
You
off.
gotta
You know
get,
what I
you gotta
mean?
get to the root.
You got to cut as far down as you can, and maybe put some poison on the top there or whatever, so it doesn't continue to grow. And I think that's
I
the
guess, yeah. But then that's a good point about that analogy there. Cutting the leaves off is the easy route to go down. What most people are asking for about blocking his account is the easier route. But to make more of an impact about this issue, we do need to go down to the roots and cut it off. So what we're asking of social media profiles, sorry, not profiles, accounts and platforms, sorry, to do is the easy approach. I know they're not doing it, but for them, blocking these users is an easier route to go down than the rehabilitation route. So I guess for them, resource comes into it and how much they're willing to put behind their teams to sort this issue out. Do you think that then, so if we're talking about the resource to rehabilitate these people, does that come from the platforms itself, or is that like a government issue that they will have
I
to
think
put
it
forward?
I think it requires either it could be government. Do I trust government to go out and actively do this? No. So I think initially, I think it would have to be some kind of third party. Someone would need to kind of take a lead on having okay, we're going to rehabilitate people when it comes to abuse. Because you know what, like as much as we use that, we can use all these different analogies, but this type of I guess this type of hate crime is similar to like any other crime. Like if someone is like a thief or whatever, and they go to jail, and they just go to jail, but there's no rehabilitation process. They just get sent to jail, and then when they come out, it's like they're just meant to like mold into society, but like they haven't. What they've just gone through mentally can scar them. It's not like you're not actually helping them to not steal again. They might come out, they got no money, the chances are they're gonna steal again. Do you know what I mean? But not get caught or try and not get caught. They're gonna reoffend. So it's like, how do we stop them from actually reoffending? And I think that's the approach that we need to take. And I feel like there's things that go wrong with the justice system already. So I probably wouldn't put all my eggs in one basket and say, yeah, the government should do it. But I think a third party can definitely align with the government to present this and carry this out and try and get some kind of funding to ensure that, we put a course together for anybody who, it doesn't have to be like just racial abuse. It could be any kind of abuse, sexual abuse, like, you know what I mean? Like, you got sexual abuse, racist abuse, I don't even know all the other abuses out there, but any kind of type of bullying, I think there can be a rehabilitation process, because essentially when you are bullying, I feel like you're subhumanizing someone. And I think that's where the biggest problem comes in. So that person might be, it's down to the environment that they're in. They might not be in a metropolitan environment. They might not be in a what's the word?
Diverse.
diverse. They might not be in a diverse environment. So we need to be able to put diverse things into there, whether that means, this is why. Let's say, for example, someone might be really Islamophobic to someone, and they might not understand why in Islam most men grow their beard, so that needs to be taught, or
Mm,
do you know what I mean? So you can have an understanding as to why they do something, just as much as other races have to understand why white people might do certain things themselves as well. Do you know what I mean?
hmm.
So I think that's what I guess needs to happen. I feel like to take a step in the right direction. That doesn't mean I don't agree with having ID for any social account. I think that must happen. I think that should happen just to keep things secure. So
Yeah, I think also like it allows it allows you to be accountable for what you're saying online, and it makes you think twice before posting. Like a lot of people who said it. Someone made a good point that these people are open about these thoughts and publicize it because they feel like they're in a place of privilege that there'll be no repercussions from it. And
yeah,
even at this day and age now, where there's so much hype and so much noise around these issues, people are still coming out and not expecting to get caught. So yeah, we've gotten to these levels where people, even though there's so much noise, people still it's still going ahead. So I guess, like you said,
I
this
think
might be
I think I think I think the saddest part is that we know that, and then you can call it from well ahead, and like this is the life you have to live. So it's like, as a black person, you're just like, well, I'm gonna go here, and 9 times out of 10, I'm probably gonna receive this if this goes wrong, or
mm,
I'm gonna feel this, and then other schemes kind of fall into place where um like someone mentioned in the comments of Stephen Bartlett's post about active diverse inclusion by having as many companies, as many I guess many kind of clubs and circles within society, including as many different types of people as possible. Um, where sometimes when they do try to do that, that also feels like tokenism. So where you feel
mhm.
as if like you've already brought this person into your circle just to feel as if like it hits a quota as
But
opposed
you
to,
know, this that's a good point because on Poet, on the Half Cast podcast,
yeah.
Chucky and Poet spoke about this on their most recent episode, and Poet made a good point because I think Chucky's mentioned the tokenism thing, and rightly so. That it can be seen that way, but Poet was like, if it is tokenism that helps us make a change, then why not just accept it right now? It's a privilege to be in this position because our parents, grandparents should have loved to be given that opportunity just because of their skin color. And it also shows that these companies and these corporations have acknowledged they have an issue in terms of diversity, and they're gonna force it through. Like they might have two candidates. For example, if it's hiring someone for a job, they might have two candidates on the same level, the same experience. One's of an ethnic minority, one's white. But because they know they have an issue with in terms of diversity, they're gonna hire the ethnic minority, which kind of it might be seen as tokenism, but it also helps the bigger picture of making workplaces and corporations more of a diverse
Well,
place.
do you think that that's what that is like? Because like I feel like there's two sides to that. Like I understand exactly what you're saying, and I feel like you make a good point because I do think the generations before us would have bitten our arm off to get to that point. But then,
Mm.
is there a limit there? Do you see what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, we got the one black person now. We don't need another one. PR, we've done that. We've hit that. We've ticked that box. We now look diverse. So then, like, can you have like just like how you have a team of white people? Will there be a team of black people? Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? I'm not saying that you should have a team of black people, not by any means. I feel like it should just be like I just feel like it should be whatever it is that you need, as long as the person is the right candidate for the job, they should get it. I feel like that's how it should be. But like I feel like how do we get to that next stage? What is that next stage and what does that look like? Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because like it is going to look like tokenism, and it probably is going to be tokenism that gets us to a next stage. But what does that next stage look like overall?
I think, yeah, I think for me, I don't know, you might have a different opinion, but for me, the next stage is having ethnic minorities affect and influence decision making, which doesn't happen at the moment. So at the moment, it might be seen as tokenism from a lot of corporations because they're starting to hire more women as senior leaders, hire more ethnic minorities. So yeah, a result on that means that these ethnic minorities and these females or LGBTQ plus communities now have a direct influence on the decision making, which kind of gives a bit more of a 360 approach and a 360 way of thinking when it comes to leading, which hasn't been happened before. So I guess the next step is, like you said, having these leaders in place to make the initial tokenism an effective way to get more diversity and kind of teach those that might not be in a diverse area. Because for example, I work in Cheltenham and it's not a very diverse place, but the company I work for are actively trying to recruit diverse talent because they've noticed it's an issue.
But,
From entry level to senior level. So
so
hopefully the
then
next step is
you're going now, and then continue.
and so hopefully the next step means more opportunity for diverse talent, and hopefully diverse talent can now influence companies, influence corporations to make better decisions as well. For when topics like this come about, we're in a position where we can act on it without being seen as our gestures being part of tokenism. Like we saw it with the George Floyd situation. A lot of companies were getting hate because of their stance. If they did make a stance, it was okay. You're making a stance, but should you be making a stance because your quota, your black and ethnic minority quota is below the average or something like that. So yeah, I guess any way they try to fix the situation, they will get hate for it. But I guess your point is just going about it the right way with the right intentions rather than, like you said, just hitting a quota.
Yeah, exactly that. Like for me, you just gave a good example there by saying that look, you where you live isn't actually diverse. So then, if where you live isn't diverse, why is the business where you live trying to be diverse? It should probably match the environment that it's in. Like I'm not gonna go to Iceland and be like, why is there no black people here? I'm in
Mhm.
Iceland. It's not
But
diverse.
then, but then I guess it depends what the business is. If the business is catering to a wider audience that may include a diverse pool of people, then you kind of need diversity in the company to help make these decisions. So even though the company is in Cheltenham, which isn't diverse, it caters to a wider audience on a global scale
Yeah.
with stores and offices in different areas of the country and the world that has diversity within it. So just to go back on that point, Cheltenham, it might not be a diverse area, but diversity still needs to be there to help the decision making process for a wider audience.
I think that's a good point. That's a very good point. I think you put that very well, to be fair. I think because I think there was an element of my thinking where like I, the tokenism does come from when everybody just wants to just be diverse because right now PR looks good if you're diverse as opposed
Mm.
to what your actual environment is like. It's not about bringing, I guess, black people in or Asians in or whoever it is when that environment might not have that. But then again, if the type of business is to hit a diverse amount of people, then you definitely need to know how to tap into certain communities or respect certain communities in order to ensure that your business kind of has success in the future. So yeah, I think that's really, really important because you can tell when a certain business hasn't been influenced by any or they haven't had a guidance on certain things. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's terrible. But then also there's that it comes with its pros and it comes with its cons, you know, because there's also like whilst companies are going through this kind of like shift, you know, they're going to get a lot of nominated black people who, oh, I don't want to say black people. I'm only talking based on myself, but you're gonna have a nominated like ethnic minorities who might not even have such a strong take on a certain situation, but they're the nominated person for diversity or anything like that. And like I feel like that's another side that people probably don't even discuss, you know, because it's like, oh, now I'm just is it like now I'm just being picked because of this, but then it's like with
Yeah,
the tokenism, I was gonna say with the
yeah.
tokenism, is that how privilege feels like? I don't like it's like I don't
Mm.
know.
No, but yeah, I did. Tupac made a good quote. I don't remember the direct quote, but
Yeah,
someone asked him about like stabbings or like violence in the area he grew up, and he said that he's not a voice for all black people. Just because he's black doesn't mean he has the answers and the voice for all black people. So he can't give an answer on that, and that kind of leads to your point about hiring a black person now they're the head of the diversity team. But yeah, they might not have the voice. They might not feel in a position to confidently lead that team just because of their skin color. So yeah, again, it's like about hiring the right kind of people rather than just because of their skin color.
yeah.
But yeah, it is a tough one for companies because how do you effectively go about that without it being controversial?
I think that's why I think there should be some third party companies out there that can help with these types of situations, like whether it just like be like a ethnic minority like governing body, or I don't know, something where it just helps cover companies maybe consider certain factors, certain things, and make educated decisions when it comes to making certain hirings or certain mindsets as well. I think that's really important. Like I feel like me and you can both be in a certain mindset. So if we were probably asked to do anything to do with, you know, diversity and inclusion, I think we probably know enough about the topic, or we probably might feel really tied into the topic to be able to lead some kind of like positive change. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, others are not like that at all, and you know they have their
Mm-hmm.
own perspective and everything like that. So some people might not feel like they're either qualified enough or even had time to even think about it. Like I'm just here for the money. Like, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
about, you know what I mean? Everyone has different priorities in life. You know what I mean? So where maybe like more aligned with like who we are and what we are, what we're trying to be, we can make that lead. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So
No,
yeah,
I hear
man.
that.
I think.
That's a good point.
But I think to kind of conclude everything, I think that when it comes to like racial abuse, I think we definitely need to start taking some steps into the right direction. That includes if social media platforms can start verifying everyone, just like how you have to open a bank account, you might need a national insurance number, driver license or passport, and maybe a proof of address. I think that's a good way. I know some people have brought to light to me that, oh, people can fake those things as well. I'm sure they can, but the majority won't. And then
Mm-hmm.
you'll create some kind of security to try and, you know, grasp your hand on the fraudsters, just like you do with anything. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's a good thing. I think it does hold people accountable and you can be traced back very easily. And then I guess the next step after that is some kind of law enforcement. I don't trust the current law enforcement. I'm probably gonna get a lot of backlash just for me saying I don't trust the government and don't trust law enforcement. I'm
No,
probably
I think a lot of people under that same like have the same thoughts. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
feel like, hey, if something happens to me, yo, all of you got a ride for me, man. Anyway, but
Mm-hmm.
what's it called? So, law enforcement, and I guess there needs to be some kind of active, diverse law enforcement. I'm gonna say that coincides with social media. So there's like data that can be shared across, so they can actively do a job when it comes to acting on justice for some of these racial abusers or any kind of abuser online. So I think that's the next thing. And then the next step after
I've got a
that,
point there. A
go on
point
here.
quickly, just to make it a bit more relatable. About we spoke about getting people of color, and then they have a voice of ethnic minorities. But Priti Patel is a real bad example of that because she is a person of color, yet her morals and her opinions go against what a lot of ethnic minorities are fighting for. For example, the taking of the knee. She was all over it when it first happened, saying we shouldn't do it. It's a political gesture here, there, and that. And then when the racial abuse come out a couple of days ago, she will then pull out a tweet saying this is what they've been taking a knee for. Rah, 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 rah. So yeah, getting the right people to do those jobs it will be tough, but it's not a case of just getting a person of color to fill that position. You need someone with, like you said, that has knowledge and is interested in that field.
But
Because yeah, Preet Patel has
but
been
also
dragged.
political views is also another thing on top of that. This is why when Tupac is saying, I'm not the voice of all black people, because you can have 500 black people, 250 of them are like labor minded, and then the next,
Mm,
it's like left ring or right ring. Do you know what I mean? So it's
mm,
like that all comes into it as well. Do you know what I mean? Because I can tell you, I'm like, why am I taking a knee? I might take the knee for community support to support my direct community because that's how they feel my support. But then do
mm,
I actually feel that taking a knee is going to make a change? Probably not. Do you see what I'm saying?
mm,
It's that again, that's like the cutting of the leaves. So like again, it can be it really depends on how that person thinks and what change they're actually trying to make. Because some people,
mm,
when they make change, they're just trying to better themselves. We've seen it with a lot of corrupt countries where, a politician or a president or whatever, they're making some crazy decisions, but that's because it will benefit themselves, their immediate family, and maybe the generations after them when it comes to money, wealth, and access. But then does that help the actual whole country with money, wealth, and access? Probably not. So,
mm,
like, politics goes into it as well. So it's a hard one. But the more that we can all pull in that same direction, and we have a common goal or common enemy that we can try and take down, then it will help us go into the right direction. And I think that's what we need to do. And I think that's what a lot of ethnic minorities are trying to do, especially over the last like 100 years or so. They've been trying to kind of congregate back and be a strong community and protect one another kind of again. And I
mm,
think we need to kind of go into that direction. But kind of going back onto that, the law enforcement thing, I think that law enforcement and social media need to kind of come together, uh, share data, or the law enforcement needs data access, and then the next step after that is some kind of rehabilitation. So justice. So with that, you could enforce a fine, a ban, whatever it could be. Like I don't work in the justice system, but a ban or a fine or whatever the judge deems as appropriate, along with some kind of course, rehabilitation process or approach that someone can do maybe over a 6 month or 12-month period, depending on what it is that they've done, um,
mm,
to help them humanize, I guess, their abuser. Um,
mm.
so, well, there is it abuser or abusees? I don't know if that's the word, but the person who was abused to help
Yeah,
humanize
yeah.
them, and then we can see if that makes any kind of change. And I feel like that will probably help. So yeah, I think that's
And I think that's like a 3 step process there.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's just yeah, like you said, getting making sure people are accountable by putting in their verification. Step 2 is then fining and getting law enforcement involved, and step 3 is the rehabilitation. But yeah, it's just like you said, trying to get these social media companies to listen, get the governments to listen and act on it, because at the moment there's been little, if not no action. So
yeah. I think
again, going back to your point, it might be a third party that pushes this boat, applying pressure, maybe kick it out, look to collaborate with either the government or Facebook or any other social media platform to kind of step up this push, because yeah, at the moment it just doesn't seem to be enough.
yeah, I agree, and yeah, I think with that I think that's a great step into the right direction, man.
Mm,
I feel like there's nothing more that I can say on the matter. I just hope it doesn't happen again. Sadly, I know it will. Um, Yeah. And I think another thing as well, like as much as some of these players play for England, I reckon if their hereditary countries had as much, what's the word, access, information, if their environment sort of quality, I personally reckon they would all probably have paid for their home countries. If they didn't feel, you know what I mean? As much as like England, I feel like England is a great country. I might be digging myself a hole here, but England is a good country. England is a great country and it's provided so many opportunities. And obviously, our parents or grandparents who kind of made a decision to build a life over here, brought a life over here for us to have access to as much things as possible. And we now do have that, and it's great, you know. But when you are constantly reminded that you are not from here, it makes it a very hard decision for you to want to represent, obviously, this country at times. And we're seeing more and more players who kind of come through the rankings and they're choosing to play for their hereditary countries. And sometimes it's at a loss sometimes because, when you go away on international duty, you might not have five-star hotels. You might not have the security that you need. Like we saw Aubameyang sleeping in airports and stuff, which is crazy
Mhm.
to think. He's on like 350K a week or whatever, but still has to sleep on the floor in the airport. But the England team don't have to deal with any of that. They got the security, they got the money to be able to provide for all of these things. But when you go away with Jamaica, Trinidad, Ghana, whatever,
Mhm.
it might not be as plush as that. Even though they are funded, but again, there's so many other politics, there's other issues that the countries have to deal with. I don't want to say it's at the expense of, like, I don't want to say it's because of England or because of France that these players can't represent their home countries, because some of these countries they are poverty stricken countries. They've been
You've
stripped of
seen it.
everything.
You know the Adebayo situation
Yeah,
when Adebayo was in his prime and a few guys got shot on the bus.
yeah, they hijacked the bus. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So there's like a prime example there. Like you said, a lot of these countries aren't in a position that England in, and playing for your heritage country can be a risk. It can be a risk. So yeah, it's a tough one. It definitely is a tough one.
yeah, it is a tough one. But for me, I'm always going to encourage to do the hereditary thing, just simply because I think when it comes to you have to deal with, you are in a poverty stricken place, so you are going to be faced with things that you would never have to be faced with in England. You know, only like it's only like you could go to the richest part of England, there's no stabbings, but go to the most poverty-stricken place, there's stabbings. You have to deal with you have to face other adversities, as and that's probably one of the issues. Like, go and play for England is probably the easier route and you get more access to maybe cup tournaments and things like that. You don't have to worry. But for the poverty-stricken places, you're going to be appreciated and loved just for who you are. You're not going to receive any racism. You might receive other abuse by, like, because you lived in a different place and now you want to try and come back, right? And that's one thing. But if you give back to that country, you'll be loved forever. Where
Hmm.
sometimes you can give everything to England and it's not even appreciated. They don't even care. You see what I'm
Seen that
saying?
with Sterling.
Yeah,
Mm.
we see that with so many players, but yet they still give their heart and they want to make that change. The way I see it is that, like, unless you know this country is, actually, I'm not going to say it because it says mad. It sounds mad, but anyway, I just don't see it happening there.
Mm.
It's just a bit mad. So yeah, man. But yeah, I guess, what should we wrap that up there?